Ellen Ripley is an iconic protagonist from the original 1979 Alien film. She's one of the most memorable characters in all of sci-fi horror, a tough, resourceful survivor who becomes the sole survivor of the Nostromo crew after encountering the deadly xenomorph. I'm going to be using Ellen Ripley in this essay because she's the original girl boss, a strong female character. Let's see how she would be treated today by the internet and grifters. But first, let's look at the evolution of the word. The term girl boss emerged in 2014 with Sofia Amoruso's memoir about building her fashion empire. Initially, it represented entrepreneurial spirit and female ambition in traditionally male-dominated spaces. However, as the term gained traction, it began to attract criticism for its association with a particular brand of capitalism-friendly feminism that prioritized individual success over systemic change. This legitimate critique of corporate feminism has since been weaponized far beyond its original margin. Today, girl boss is deployed as a catch-all phrase for any female character who exhibits heroic qualities. The term has become a shorthand for dismissing women's stories before they're even properly examined, reducing complex characters to political symbols rather than individuals with their own narrative arcs. In recent years, the term has been defiled by outrage merchants, especially online. What began as a term of empowerment has morphed into a cultural weapon. It has been co-opted by certain corners of film criticism and online discourse to dismiss, diminish, and demonize any female character who dares to exhibit agency, competence, or leadership. This shift reveals a troubling trend: the systematic undermining of women's representation in media through the cynical reframing of strength as farce, competence as propaganda, and agency as political posturing, while men are allowed to just be. If Ridley Scott's Alien was released today, Ellen Ripley, one of cinema's most organically developed and genuinely compelling protagonists, would face the same reductive criticism that plagues modern female characters today. The film would be dismissed as woke, Ripley labeled a girl boss, and her survival instincts reframed as unrealistic feminist wish fulfillment. This shows how far we've regressed in our ability to appreciate nuanced female characters in film without the lens of culture war politics. A certain group of content creators has emerged around criticizing woke media, with female protagonists being prime targets. These grifters operate on a formula. Identify a piece of media featuring a capable woman, label it as political propaganda, and generate outrage content that feeds algorithmic engagement while lining their wallets for months. This approach thrives on reductive thinking, or no thinking at all for these guys. Nuanced characters are flattened into political statements. Ellen Ripley's methodical problem-solving becomes unrealistic female competence. Her leadership under pressure becomes men being shown up by a woman. Her survival instincts become feminist propaganda. These are all things grifters say about female leads, by the way. Just like many female leads today, Ellen Ripley was simply written as a competent person who happened to be a woman. Her gender wasn't irrelevant, but it wasn't the central organizing principle of her character. She made mistakes, showed fear, relied on others, and grew throughout her journey. If released today, this same character would likely be dismissed as a Mary Sue or girl boss by critics looking for culture war content. Her scientific background would be seen as unrealistic representation. Her ability to outthink the creature would be framed as men being incompetent to elevate a woman. Her leadership decisions would be interpreted as commentary on traditional gender roles, rather than logical responses to an impossible situation. Today, any story featuring a woman in a leadership role faces heightened scrutiny and presumptions of political motivation. Female action heroes are dismissed as girl bosses. Female leads are labeled as woke casting. Women solving problems are seen as unrealistic rather than capable. For example, Ironheart being a genius is unrealistic, but Tony Stark being a genius is acceptable. This creates a double bind for creators. Write weak female characters and face criticism for poor representation, or write strong female characters and face accusations of political pandering by grifters. The result is a gross effect on storytelling, where the mere presence of a competent woman becomes a political statement rather than a creative choice. The weaponization of girlboss criticism damages more than just individual films or shows. It contributes to a cultural atmosphere where women's stories are viewed with suspicion, where female competence is seen as inherently political. This skepticism extends to real-world women as well. When female competence in fiction is consistently framed as unrealistic or agenda-driven, it reinforces the notion that women's capabilities in reality are also questionable. The line between fictional criticism and real-world prejudice becomes increasingly blurred. In conclusion, the corruption of girlboss from empowerment term to dismissive weapon represents a broader cultural regression in how we discuss women's representation in media. Let's not reduce complex characters to just their gender. Ellen Ripley, Captain Marvel, Rey, Riri Williams, and many more are the same. The only difference is that there were no grifters in 1979. In today's climate, strong female characters might never get the chance to find their audience before being dismissed by those more interested in culture war content than actual storytelling. Like how Jordan and Gary have already labeled Sue a girlboss before the movie is even out. I hate these men and what they've done to cinema discourse.